Let's talk about loadouts next. Which loadout should you run? I think it's also based on the map. So let's see. If you go here, you have Party Crasher, Phase Runner, Habitat, Encore, and Overflow. So I would take different weapons on Party Crasher and Phase Crasher and Habitat and Encore sometimes, but on Overflow I mostly use the same weapons. So what's the difference on those maps? Well, some sides are playing long range, and when you play a long range you don't want to have a shitty weapon. So I take on round 1 long range most of the times a 30-30 repeater or G7 scout on round 1. Like that's what I do the most sometimes, and when it's round 2 I have to change into a sniper. But then I'm like, which sniper should I use? Well, I mostly use the Sentinel then in round 2. The reason why I use Sentinel in round 2 is because if I know that my teammates are decent, I can just play Sentinel, crack the enemy instantly. Like, you hit one shot and he's cracked in round 2. It is kind of broken if your teammates are decent and can just pew, beam them to death. Like, they have no chance if you hit your shots with Sentinel on round 2, and they have no armor anymore. Like, they have nothing, man, I'm telling you. As for round 1 and 2, I could also recommend if you're playing close range and you want to push people, any weapon that's here is good. Like any SMG is good. What I mostly use is the alternator. It has maximum recoil control and it's tactical. But I've seen a lot of people also clutch with the Prowler. I've seen people clutch with the R99, Volt and Car on round 1 and 2. Like I've seen them run those. But I just keep round 1 and 2 and 3 most of the times with an alternator. And when I'm done with the alternator, I switch over to an R301. And the R301 is like sticking to me until like the end of the match most of the times. But there are times that I'm like, I cannot fight with an R301 if somebody is right in my face. So most of the times then I use an R99 or Volt. Like, it's all based on which kind of game are you playing, which type of match are you playing. But if you want to play like cautiously and you know your enemy team is not that great, then an alternator is really nice. But if you know that your enemy is really good, an alternator does not do enough damage to kill them. Like, it is true. If you are against a predator enemy and you use an alternator and he has an R99 or Volt, you're dead. Like, it is that simple. They just deal more damage quicker than you. While an alternator has more damage than both of those weapons, but it hits slower. That's the problem. It's about the speed in which you kill somebody, and an R99 and Volt basically kills you a lot faster than an alternator or Prowler. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the scenario you're in, and you like pick those weapons. As for shotguns, if you're a Lifeline, Mozambique round 1 if you buy a knockdown shield. If you're Newcastle, Mozambique round 1 if you buy a knockdown shield. Mirage round 1 if you buy a knockdown shield, get a Mozambique. And this can stick to you until round 2, and on round 3 you can switch to an R99 or alternator or another shotgun, like for instance a Mastiff or PK. And that would also be really really strong if you're playing like a revive character close range. But there are ways to counter them. There are ways to counter Newcastle. For instance, if you play a Seer and Newcastle tries to revive somebody, you can tactical them, boom, they're out of the revive stance. They're dead, okay? They're instantly dead. Because they are basically in that motion of reviving, but then when they suddenly get out of that, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and you can just one-clip them. It is the truth. Then, if you're against a Lifeline, what I recommend is you throw frag grenades. The reason why I say throw frag grenades is the Lifeline is most of the times close by the revive, and if you throw frag grenades to the downed enemy that's trying to get revived, so get back up, they just instantly die because of the grenades, and then you have even a chance to knock the Lifeline afterwards. So if you're playing against a Lifeline, I recommend using frag grenades. It is really really strong. As for pistols, I don't recommend using a P2020. The R45 is not in the game right now. He's only in the care package. As for Wingman, I only recommend using this weapon if you mastered it. For shotgun, PK, one of my all-time favorite weapons. It is really, really good. Mastiff, I don't like this weapon too much, but it is good if you know how to play it. Mozambique is just crazy round 1 and 2. Like, it does so much damage really quickly. And even on range, because of the shotgun bolt, you just hit your full shot on distance. And if you hit them like 45 every time, they're just fucked. EVR 8 is the worst shotgun in the game right now. I don't recommend playing this. It's not great. For sniper rifles, creepers in the care package, you cannot buy it right now. You can buy a longbow, you can buy a charge rifle and a sentinel. I recommend using sentinel from round 2. I recommend never use the longbow, it's really, really trash. And charge rifle only if you know how to play it and hit your shots. It can be nasty to play against. Like, it is so annoying to play against a good charge rifle player, and it puts pressure on the enemy team. As for marksman weapons, the bowcheck is currently in the care package, so you cannot buy it. The 30-30 repeater is really, really strong. Like, if you hit those like shots, and you have also the skull piercer now, you can hit like 100 headshot almost. Like, if you hit your shots with this weapon, so you load it up, then you peek for like a quick second and pew, and then back into your hiding. Like, it is really, really, like, this is probably one of the strongest peek weapons in the game. Like, you peek, shoot, and then you go back, like, in your cover, and then you go out of your cover when it's charged up, shoot one time, pop, and then back in the cover. Like, that's what people play. That's how people play the 30-30 repeater. It's just a fucking nasty weapon if you hit your shots quickly while using cover at your advantage. Like, it's just probably the best, like, mid-range gun, 30-30, but it sucks so bad at close range. Like, this weapon is probably one of the worst close range weapons you can possibly get. I know that when I play this, I practice so much on the hip fire just because I could like hit those shots close range sometimes with this. Like, if I hip fire with this, I can hit almost everything, but it took so long to do that. As for a G7 Scout, I recommend this over the 30-30 because it just has more viability close range with the hip fires than the 30-30 repeater. And it has more control in long range, plus there's double tap. Like, the double tap trigger is really, really strong if you know how to hit your double taps. As for the triple take, it's the worst sniper right now. Like, it is really bad. Let's go to the light weapons. The Rampage is currently in the care package, you cannot get it. Spitfire sucks at long range and mid range now, because of the recoil is so bad that it's only good at close range most of the times now. And I don't recommend anybody to use a Spitfire unless they have Zen or they have like a scuff control with how the fuck is this shit called, with a strike pack. As for the L-Star, it is probably the worst one out there. Like, this is dog shit. Never use an L-Star, it's so bad. Devotion is one of the clutch weapons in this game mode, sadly. If you have a turbocharger, you can clutch around and just one clip everybody, but the problem is it is not that quick. If somebody quickly like zooms out of your screen and is on your side and you try to like turn around and shoot again, you're dead. And I don't recommend using this alone. If you have a full team and you all use this, then it's good. But if you're the only one that uses devotion in a match, it is not that great. Unless you're a Horizon, and whenever you go up with your Horizon tactical, you can just beam everybody without recoil. Then it's good, but besides that, I don't really recommend using devotion. And now we go to the SMGs. I recommend all of them except Alternator. I recommend Alternator only round 1 and 2. I don't recommend using it after round 3 because other weapons are just way better than Alternator. With damage, with quick kill, everything. The only thing that the Alternator is better in is recoil control. For that reason I sometimes use it, but for other people I don't recommend using this after round 2. What I mostly recommend is R99 and Volt. Those are the most easiest weapons to use. After that comes the Prowler and Car. The reason why I say it this way is because those two are easier to use than a Prowler and Car. But the Car is, well, it's neck to neck with the Volt and R99, really. And the Prowler, if you hit all your shots, can also compete against them. Like, they're all really good weapons. But for a beginner, I will say an R99 or Volt. And if you're advanced, then a Prowler or Car, because if you know how to play them, you know how to play them, you know what I mean? Assault rifles. This one is... I'm skeptical to this. I think that the Archer 1 is the best weapon overall. Like, that's my personal opinion, because the recoil is not that hard to control. It does enough damage to one clip everybody. It has like the viability for every player, good or bad, to use. But then I know for myself that the flatline does just more damage if you hit those headshots. Like, if you know how to control the recoil on a flatline and you do those like headshots, I don't think any weapon can compete to a flatline. Like that's just the honest truth. If you master the flatline, it is better than an Archer 1. But if you don't master the flatline, then it's worse than Archer 1. It's like a difference in skill you have in this weapon. Like the skill gap between a flatline and Archer 1 is like heaven and earth. Like it is pretty hard to hit all your headshots with a flatline, but if you do it, it is satisfying. Plus, it's better than Archer 1 then. But if you're new to this game and you're looking at this guide, I don't recommend you to use this weapon. I recommend you to use an Archer 1. As for a Hemlock, this is actually pretty good in Arena, because you can one burst and then peek, one burst, peek, one burst, peek. You know what I mean? Like, you can just peek, go back and cover, peek, shoot, burst. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the Hemlock tactic right now. And a single fire Hemlock is not that bad too. It's the same with the Archer 1 with Anvil Receiver. The one shots like hipfire are not bad. As for the Havoc, it's the same as Devotion. It is good sometimes, but I don't recommend really using this weapon unless you know how to hit all your shots with it. But I do recommend if your whole team use it, just get it and join them in. Like, that's my personal opinion for the weapons. I hope that was somewhat useful for you guys.